Can we trust our feelings? Can we trust our somatic reading of life? Are you able to say something about intuition, which is not the same but interests me as well? Can we trust our feelings? Now often you hear people say, trust your feelings. I would suggest, however, that that's not necessarily true. Acknowledge your feelings, yes. Be there as the observing presence for your feelings, yes. Be aware of your feelings, accept that they are there. Trust, which means to take them to be the truth, or the truth for you, or using them as a guide to correct or skillful action, that may be doubtful, because it depends where these feelings arise in you. A little anecdote from my life to illustrate that. When I lived in England, in the country, in that alternative town Glastonbury for 3 years, I lived in a cottage, and once a month I would travel to London or other cities in my beloved Russian-made Lada car to do a workshop, and usually a weekend workshop called things like Transcending Time or Be Here Now. Nothing much has changed, except that the average number of people I had was about 10. And since my income was not enough, I had to rent out a room upstairs in my cottage. So I had to, over these 3 years, a few people. It was a second room, which I also occasionally rent out. Anyway, the room became vacant. I advertised in the local paper. Several people came to apply, and finally chose a young woman who had just been offered a job in that town. She came, she moved in, and after the first night in her room, she came down for breakfast into the kitchen, which was a shared kitchen, and she said, "I can't stay here." I said, "What's wrong?" It's just a feeling, and I always listen to my feelings. I just can't stay. There's something not right. So I was very nervous. And I said, "Okay, that's fine." And that she found that very disconcerting, because she had expected a more conventional response, which would have been, "What? I've interviewed all these people, I've chosen you, and now what, you're doing this to me? You're not getting your rent money back that you paid in advance." But I said, "Okay, I'll give you your money back, it's fine." So she was even more confused after that. And he said, "I'll spend one more night or 2 more nights." She spent the second night, and then in the morning she said, "No, I think I'll stay. I have a different feeling now." And I said, "Oh, that's fine, that's good." And again, she was a little disconcerted, because the conventional response would have been, which I did do, "I just put another ad in the paper, and now you're telling me this?" This is how to make, the conventional responses are how to make life complicated for yourself and others. But it's normal, it's how the ego responds. And so, whenever somebody does not respond in that way, life becomes simple. But when life becomes simple, people who expect the conventional responses become confused. What? This is a weird person. And so she decided to stay, and a few weeks later, when I got to know her better, she explained to me that that first night she was in her bedroom, and she said, "I found you so weird that I thought you might creep in the middle of the night and murder me." And later she said, "Living in the same house with you is like living in a float tank." I think she learned a lot, not so much through me explaining things to her, just by being there. Not that she didn't go through her episodes of neurotic reactivity, which is quite normal for most people, but that's fine. So feelings. Now, where did the initial feelings that she experienced, that she then believed that they were a correct guide for action? Of course they were not, because they originated in fear, and they also originated in a misinterpretation of reality, which is so easy to do for the mind, to misinterpret another person, to misinterpret a situation. You misinterpret because you see it through the conditioning of your mind. You see it through your beliefs, your prior experiences in childhood. You see it through even other things that have conditioned your mind, maybe even scary movies about weird people who don't say much. And then just when you're having a shower, they creep in. So it is not, therefore it's not that easy often to say, where does this feeling that I have arise? Where does this feeling originate? Now, does it come from a deeper, the intuitive place? Intuition comes out of being present. Intuition does not come out of the conditioning of your mind. So, if you have an intuition, also, it is usually not tainted by negativity, such as anger or fear. So there is something certain about it, that there is a quiet strength behind your feeling, a quiet strength. There's not a nervous energy behind your feeling. There's more. You just know this is right. You may not be able to explain to yourself or others why. It has a different quality. There's a peaceful quality to it. Now, let's just imagine, to come back to the story that happened with this young woman. Of course, it could have been that theoretically I could have been a psycho and actually could not be trusted not to kill her. Theoretically, that's possible. So I don't know what the answer to this is, but I know from my own life, whenever there is a deep realization of what the right course of action is, it is always, there's a peace with it. And even if there's a psycho there, you know with absolute certainty that this is not right for you. There's an energetic imbalance which comes from a deeper place. But I cannot really explain in words. You have to, through life experience, you have to find out for yourself what a deeper feeling that comes out of presence and is a true intuition, how it is different from something that arises from the conditioning of your mind.